just start writing whatever comes to mind. Is there a clear outline that you guys have in mind and utilize when you're writing your speeches? Anybody? No? Okay. You'll find that when you have an outline, when you have a clear strategy to writing your speech, that becomes easier to write because you already have the structure of the speech. It also makes when you're giving the speech a lot easier because there's a logical pathway in which the speech begins and concludes. Your audience can also follow your speech a lot easier because there is a clear structure. There's an introduction, there's 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, and a clear conclusion. So it's very easy for your audience to follow it. And also, it's also very, very, and because it's easy to follow, the message that you're trying to give is a lot clearer. And that's the biggest point in public speaking, is to get your message across and to persuade your audience of your message. So, the first thing that we're going to do is develop the opening. So, I think Eugene's speech had the best opening because it grabbed my attention. So, if you look at the second page, what's a good opening? A startling question or a challenging statement. So, Eugene did that and I thought that was great. It really drew our attention as to what the speech should be about. What you want to avoid is saying an apologetic statement. So, I'm not really sure, but, or I'm sorry that I feel this way, but I feel this way. Like Antonio said, you're always right. Always make your statement as strong as possible. Don't compromise anything when you're doing public speaking. Another great way to begin a speech is with a story. I always say that stories are a great way for an audience to pay attention to you. Because we all love to listen to stories. As long as it's not a story that is ridiculous and not related to your speech at all. So if Eugene's giving a speech about clothing, he doesn't want to give a story about bananas because it doesn't make sense. Well, he has a great strategy. He has a great story about how clothing made him a better student or made him a worse student. That would be a great story and a great way to begin your speech. A third way is to have a prop, an object, or a picture. So let's say you have a picture of a guy dressed in a uniform and ready. That's a great way to get our attention and to draw focus to what you're saying because we have something to focus on, something interesting, something that we weren't prepared for. So that's the opening. Who here feels that their opening follows the statements that I just made in terms of getting our attention? I think I saw Eugene right there. So when you're rewriting speech later, I really want you guys to make an opening that's dynamic and attention-taking. There are only 2 parts in the speech that's important, guys. The opening to get our attention and the conclusion. Nobody remembers the body. Very few people do. You want to make the biggest opening and the biggest bang when you end the speech. The next is the body. So, have you guys ever seen the 3-point essay?
Over there. Just beside the podium.
I'm sorry, where?
Beside the podium. This.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
So who's heard of the 3-point essay? Anybody? All right, so we have the opening here, right? The opening. That's the opening. So and then the 3-point essay, you have the conclusion opening. Conclusion right here. And then 3 points. So you want to have 3 points with regards to your main topic. So your opening could be a question, it could be a prop. And then this one, what is it? School should be about learning. School learning. Not close. And then you would give supporting evidence to the statement. So, school should be about learning, not clothes. And you can say, private schools have better scores because they wear uniforms. So you don't know, right? And maybe for the second point, you could have clothes make kids bully each other. And then you have supporting evidence. So kids without rich clothes are bullied. So you see what I mean? You have a big statement, and then you present evidence to support the statement, and then you conclude it by reciting these 3 points. So in the conclusion, it should be 1, 2, and 3. You just repeat it so that your auditors remember what you just said. I like this 3-point because it's very, very clear. You have and it also constructs a very strong argument. Your opening gets their attention. Your first point is supported by evidence. Your second point also supported by evidence. Third point, evidence, etc. And then your conclusion reiterates 1, 2, and 3. So by the end of it, your audience should have all the information that they need in a very clear and structured context. Does anybody understand? Is there any questions? So with this formula, you're not going all over the place. You're always presenting a statement and then evidence. Statement, evidence, conclusion. That way your audience will never be lost. And then finally is the conclusion. The conclusion is not just, this is my speech, or thank you for listening. The conclusion is a summation of all that you have just said. Because sometimes people don't pay attention to what you just said here. And you need a reminder of what you just said. So conclusion should be strong. It should be strong in that you don't say, whatever it has to be very, very explosive. And also a reiteration of what you just said. Are there any questions so far? Okay, so there is a lot of information here, a lot of information. I don't want to get through all of it because I don't want to bombard you guys with too much. Make sure that you guys read through this manual when you get home because there is a lot of things in here, and I want to see these principles applied when you're writing your speech. So based on what I just said, and based on the principles of speech I just demonstrated, take your speech, the school uniform is mandatory, and edit it so that it conforms to the principles outlined here, and perform it with the criticisms and advice I gave you just before. And I'll give you guys 20 minutes to do that. We'll start at 10, and then I'll ask each and every one of you to come up here.